Yes, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another day for the Module 2. Today we will be covering subject matter 3, which is the status and control of ball. The instructors for this 2-day session will be Mr. Christian Wilmore and Mr. Frederick Brown. Like always, remind you to please mute your phones. When a question is posed to you, please unmute and either ask your question or provide an answer depending how the instructor may instruct you to. With that saying, thank you, and we look forward for an involved discussion and not so much shy ones as we had in the past 2 days. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Brown and Mr. Wilmore. Thanks.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Patrick, for that introduction. We certainly want to reflect on what we have done over the last couple of weeks. We had a spirited session yesterday evening, at least the last part of it. And we've covered any number of areas that involve basketball play. However, we intend to go through some rules this evening and kind of have a rules seminar. And that is status of the ball, team control, those kinds of stuff. But having said that, you certainly will need your rules. And so I'm gonna ask that we play a little something on the screen, and while we give you the opportunity to go maybe to your cell phone or go on your computer and pull up the 2019 or the latest edition, the 2020 digital copy of the rules, or if you have a hard copy, that's even better. So we're gonna give you a couple minutes while we shoot something on the screen, and so you can kind of get the rules and put them before you, because we're gonna be going through any number of rules this evening.
Okay.
Nothing will be easy tonight. There's another rebound for Gasol. Of course, Campasso matching up with some of his Real Madrid teammates.
Rubio left open. And Ricky Rubio drills it.
Again, we've talked about this throughout the tournament, his improved scoring and also his willingness to take those shots.
And Garino has it knocked out of his hands by Oriola. Gasol for three! And it's a 7-0 lead for Spain.
Dream start right now for Spain. Argentina, they're usually the first ones to throw the first punch, essentially. And Spain comes out swinging here.
Well, perhaps we underestimate the defense that Spain plays. Brasino with a little runner.
That's a good sign for him. He's been somewhat struggling these last couple of games. Now, you mentioned Spain's defense. They come in second best in the tournament, allowing just 69 points per game. Obviously, Argentina third best defensively, so not too far behind, but it is not easy to score against the Spaniards.
And feeling the contact, Rubio puts it up. The push called. Watch Campasso. Well, that was Gasol's 3. And Rubio sinks the first.
Rubio actually the leading scorer for the Spanish team at 16 points per game, and he's still giving you the 6+ assists as well. So really taking on that mantle as a go-to player.
Campasso, and he was short. Doesn't look quite as comfortable tonight here in the first couple minutes. Here's Rudy Fernandez, and that was an air ball and fell right into the hands of Juancho Hernan Gomez, and he puts it up and is fouled as well, so he'll go to the line.
Hernan Gomez, one of those X factors for Spain at any given moment, could light it up. And it's an early timeout for Argentina as nothing going right so far, especially on this side of the floor. We'll have a chance to listen to Coach Hernandez's first huddle.
Solos. 2 rebotes de Hernán Gómez. Este con castigo. Sube la pelota Garino. ¿Qué no pasa? Si no puede. Acá hay 7 más, muchachos. 7.
Are you ready, Mr. Brown?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you so much for showing that game. In watching the game, what is going through your mind? What are you thinking in terms of the players, in terms of the time, in terms of the ball? So having said that, you can put on the first some slide, Christian. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Our topic for today is status of the ball. Status of the ball. But we will not be able to understand the status of the ball clearly if we do not inject any number of other rules, and we intend to do that during the course of this session. That said, it is often suggested that we in block and charge. I think you're on block and charging. Okay.
Sorry, did I put the wrong one up?
Yeah, put it up again. Let's see.
Let me correct it.
Wait, maybe, I don't know. Maybe. But having said that, let me just go through the introduction. Some things are going to just jump out at you this evening, people. Words like live ball, dead ball, team control, player control, shooter in the act of shooting, restrictions to goaltending, and basket interference. Those are some words that are going to just jump out at you. Remember this, when I was in high school, and I know Mr. Cunningham, he's on the set right now, and he and I played high school ball together, and we did a phenomenal job in winning championships. But we had a coach, and he would always say, listen, guys, you cannot win without the ball. I was an excellent defender. And he would often tell me, hey, Freddie Brown, listen, I don't want you to go there and fake the defense. If you fake the defense, you cannot get the ball. You cannot play the game without the ball. It is often suggested that the block or charge is the most difficult. Oh, I think you got me hitting there somewhere.
No, that's the right slide. It
Okay,
leads
yeah.
into it.
Yeah, something with the referees, difficult call for referees to make because the action of the players involved seldom something. All right. Contact is often hard, though not excessive, and nearly inhibits aggressive. I think similarly, the status of the ball rule can rattle even the most learned student of the game because it involves interpretation of other rules to fully grasp the concept. Officials, coaches, and players who master this rule and the ensuing rules that we're going to cover this evening reduces their chance of asking to define or explain it. That is often the case. On the other hand, officials tend not to dialogue with players and coaches when they lack mastery of the rule, particularly Article 10, and of course, to some degree, Article 14, because there's some gray areas in there. Remember, you cannot play the game without the ball. And when you do, the ball will be either live or dead. Now, these two rules, Article 14 and Article 10, every other rule in the rule book hinges on these two articles, Article 10 and Article 14. Let's go there. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define when the ball becomes live. When the ball becomes live. Now, for some of you officials out there, you say, oh, I got that, man. I know when the ball becomes live. Okay, very good. Next one is when the ball becomes dead. When the ball does not become dead and why. Status of the ball relative to team control. And you'll understand the phrase, all restrictions relating to goaltending and basket interference shall apply. As you read the rules, where you have rules that deals with goaltending, continuation, the act of shooting, you'll find at the bottom of these rules, you'll see a little footnote where it says all restrictions relating to goaltending and basket interference shall apply. Let's move to the rules.
Mr. Brown, I want to say something before you begin.
Go ahead.
Just from an officiating standpoint. Now, let me just stop share here. Sorry for a second. This is it's just so important. You mentioned that a lot of people lack mastery of this rule, and from an active official, I would just like to say, you know, when people read the rule book, it's very tempting to just go to the things that, you know, make people excited. No, everybody wants to read about the traveling, the block and the charge, the 3-second rule. You don't really need motivation to read those things because you feel as though that's what you see in the game most of the time. But I would submit to you that subconsciously, more than you would call a travel or a block or a foul or any other contact, you officiate status of the ball and team control. You can't do anything on the court officiating-wise without understanding status of the ball and team control. And chances are, if you are not competent in these two areas of the rule, you are probably making a lot of mistakes. on the court, and not necessarily mistakes about what is a block and what is a charge, but what we would call game administration, game management mistakes. And if you're trying to reach the upper level, the upper echelon of officiating, this makes all the difference. I often tell people, almost any referee of let's call it normal capabilities can call a travel, can call an obvious charge, can call a foul in the act of shooting, can call an out of bounds, can call it 3 seconds. When you start to separate now a good referee from a very good referee to now FIBA's terminology, an elite referee, you can't necessarily do that just based on calling traveling and block and out of bounds, because most decent referees can call those things. One of the major differences is going to be what we call game management. And that is inherently linked to understanding these rules and applying them accurately and consistently in your officiating. So I just wanted to emphasize as an on-court official, as an active on-court official, that whatever you're reading in the rule book now, if you don't understand status of the ball and team control, you need to stop reading what you are reading and come back to these 2 articles. And only after you have a grasp of these articles should you start thinking about other things. This is where it starts. I have always started here. Status of the ball and team control. You have to know it.
Thank you very much, Christian. If you have sat in any of my clinics, normally we would start the clinic with these 2 articles, 10 and 14. And we have often suggest that if you get a grasp of these 2 rules, together with maybe 1 or 2 other rules, you can literally pass any FIBA test with 80% or more, literally, because you just cannot play the game without the status of the ball. And everything is hinged around status of the ball. Next one. Thank you, Christian. I think you're going too fast with the slide. Go up 1. Okay. Go next slide. Next slide. Got a next slide? It's freeze. Wow. Wow. Oh. Okay. All right, good. All right. Oh, somebody's on. Somebody's on. Christian, you got it?
Sorry, I don't know. Zoom just dipped in and out, but I'm back. Something happened.
Yeah.
Let me just get it back up. Which slide exactly were you looking for?
I think it's the fourth slide that starts with the status of the ball, Article 10.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a second. Okay.
Okay, while Christian is dealing with that, everybody is on the link this evening. You are a referee. All right, that's 1. And you're damn an instructor. And what that means is everybody needs to participate and have an answer. Listen, be decisive. Referees are decisively right or decisively what? Wrong. But be decisive. Say something, give your take. If you wish to make a comment right now, you certainly can do that. Next slide. Okay, right there. That's good. Okay, let's go. Few words. The ball becomes live when? During the jump ball, the ball leaves the crew chief hand and on the toss. Crew chief's hands on the toss. We still have referees who are they're kind of dislodged about this same article, well, about this play. Leaving the toss, leaving the referee's hands, and they're still indicating that the ball becomes live on the top. Remember, once that referee tosses that ball, the ball becomes live. The ball becomes live, even if there is no top of the ball. Okay, of course, when the ball goes up, reaches highest point, where neither jumper can jump or reach to, someone will tap the ball on the top. One of the officials or the tableside official will sharpen the game or sharpen the game clock. And then the game action actually begins. Now, during a free throw, the ball becomes live when during a free throw, the ball is at the disposal of the free throw shooter. I want to emphasize the word disposal. Disposal. Disposal really means, listen here, the referee is going to make the ball available for you, all right, to administer the free throw. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to throw it into your hands, because sometimes the players, you're calling them to the line to shoot a free throw, and they're milling about and having conversations, and then the referee grabs the ball and rests it at the free throw line. Once he does that, the ball becomes live. Of course, under normal circumstances, the referee would bounce past the ball to the free throw shooter, and once that ball reaches the free throw shooter's hands, the ball becomes live. Good. Moving right along. During a throw-in, here it is again. The ball is at the disposal of the player taking the throw-in. Here's that word again, that little word, disposal. Of course, we watch games where players seek to, of course, while they're on the court, seek to delay the game to some degree. And they're talking, they're strategizing, and it's time to play ball. And you're calling the players, listen here, hey, let's go, let's play. Or you blow your whistle and you point down, say, let's play ball. We're at a throwing spot. Point at, make a direction to the throwing spot so the player can come to make the throwing. And they're still milling about with having conversation with their coaches, with their teammates, etc. So the referee is going to simply go and place the ball at the throwing spot. And once he places that ball at the throwing spot, the ball becomes live. It is a live ball. Okay, continue.
Mr. Brown, I have something I want to add on there. I've seen a trend in some officials that I hadn't observed in the beginning part of my career, but I'm starting to see it a little bit more now. And I don't know if someone is teaching this or if this is something that maybe got adopted from the American system or what have you. But there's some officials that when the player is delaying coming to get the ball intentionally, I'm talking about like in a more obvious situation where the player is obviously taking a long time and intentionally taking a long time to come and get the ball. What they do is I've seen some officials like hold the ball out, like almost like a platter type of a situation in their hand and start the count. Now, I know that there might be some reasons for doing this, but I have counseled officials not to do that. If you're going to put the ball at the disposal of a player, I would suggest, if possible, as much as is possible, that you put the ball at the spot where the throw-in is to take place to leave, no doubt the ball is at the player's disposal. Because why do I want to make this point? I have seen other situations where the player to give the throw-in is standing right next to the official. But they're not looking at the official. You know, the throw-in is usually scanning the court, trying to see how his team is set up, trying to see who's open. And so usually they don't make eye contact with the referee. And I have seen referees hold the ball out and the player's not looking. He or she has their hands out ready for the ball, but they're not looking at the referee. And the referee's already to a count of 3 or 4. And then all of a sudden at the last minute, you know, the referee has to basically give the ball to the player to commit the throw-in because he is standing there counting while holding the ball to the side, expecting the player to take the ball from him. I just want to say, be very careful about doing that, because if you call a 5 seconds in that situation and the player is not paying attention, you have to be able to justify that the ball was at his disposal. And at least it's my personal opinion that if you are holding the ball, there leaves room there for interpretation that the ball is not at the player's disposal. So that's just something that I have seen more recently, and by recently in the last year or two, where officials are holding the ball where they think the ball is available for the player and starting their count, and then you have issues when a 5 second is called or something like that because the player didn't recognize that the ball was actually at their disposal. So just to prevent that, I would suggest if you have a situation where the player is delaying getting the ball or something of that sort, you place the ball at the spot for the throw-in so that it is obvious to everybody associated with the game, coaches, fans, players, yourself, that the ball was placed at the disposal of the player and they did not take it. All right, Mr. Brown, that's all I wanted to say. You muted yourself, Mr. Brown.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much, Christian. Of course, you know, the players, sometimes they look away like you're alluded to, but the official have to be smart. You gotta have some information about these teams. There's certain teams we know gonna do some things. We know that. We know some players are gonna do some stuff. All right, and so sometimes you have to be a good policeman or be a good security guard. All right, you have to show the uniform. Sometimes you have to step in the front of that player to let him know that, hey, I'm here. And then you step away and pass the ball, or step away or bounce past the ball. All right? Because if they continue to do it, it's going to delay the game, and then you're going to end up giving unnecessary technical when preventative officiating could have stop all of that. By just simply showing your uniform or talking to the player, handing that ball and say, hey, let's go. Nice clap or nice bounce with the ball cup. Bang, bang, let's go. Right? Hand them the ball or bounce past the ball and play on. Next slide, please. Okay, we have a simple question. I think I would have covered this one. It says here, to begin the game, the crew chief steps into the center circle to toss the ball and tosses the ball higher than neither jumper can reach the ball when a player taps the ball. The tableside official chops in the game clock, signifying that the ball is live. True or false? The answer's there, don't look at it. True or false? The tableside official chops in the game clock, signifying that the ball is live.
That's false.
That's false.
Great. Lovely. Lovely. Everybody got the first question right. So if you see it on the test, you got it. Article 10.2, the ball becomes live when during the jump ball, the ball leaves the hands of the crew chief on the toss. Next slide. Very good, guys. Trying to keep it as simple as possible. Next slide. All right. The ball becomes live when during a throw-in, the official hands the ball to the player taking the throw-in. True or false? True or false?
False.
Come on, give me some more false. Just say false, false, false. Come on. Or true, true, true.
That's false.
Okay, anybody wish to explain why? It's very simple. Go right ahead. Be a good instructor.
He doesn't have to hand the ball to the player. It just has to be at his disposal.
Place the ball at the disposal. And what does placing the ball at the disposal mean? Both what?
The ball is bounced past to the player or
area.
Excellent. Either it's a bounce pass to the player, either hand the ball to the player, and if the player is there, you can rest the ball at the spot
where it's supposed to be
throw-in is to take place.
Yeah.
Excellent, guys. Article 10.2. Somebody else is trying to weigh in?
No, I don't think so.
Somebody was trying to weigh in. You good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, left. All right, the ball becomes dead when any field goal or free throw is made. Is made. Do we have any table officials out there?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Table
yes,
officials.
we're here.
Yes, there's something about this. Would you like to weigh in on it? When the ball is made, a shot is made, what can happen right after that?
A timeout by the non-scoring team.
Amen. Very good. At that point, a timeout can be granted to the non-scoring team. But this is a very important thing because sometimes the table officials kind of miss it and coaches become livid. They're angry because table officials are not watching the game and they're not watching when that ball, where the status of the ball is really. All right, so it goes through at that point. As long as it's within the basket or within that court area, the ball is what? Dead. However, once the player gathers the ball and steps off the court, the ball is what, people? Just shout it.
The ball becomes
the ball
live.
will become
Live.
live. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. But table officials need to pay very close attention to this first bullet. Next one, the ball becomes dead when an official blows his whistle while the ball is live. Now, if you notice on the slide, you see 3 little dots. All right? That tells me, or I'm telling you, there's an exception to this rule, and we're going to go to the exception. All right? Not exactly what it's saying. Yeah.
Mr. Brown, just trying to interject before you move on. So
Yes,
I've seen cases here in Guyana where the table official was supposed to give a timeout to the non-scoring team, and then for what, especially after a made free throw. They grant the timeout? Should they let the game continue and restart? What should they do in case that happens?
Well, the ball became live. And now we're covering the areas where the ball then can become dead.
Yes, but the ball became live and then they hit the buzzer.
Yeah, but oh shoot. Well, the ball is live. All right. Now there's some situation that cannot be covered in the rule. For example, they hit the buzzer and stop the clock. That's a whole different ball game right there. All right. That's something you'll have to deal with as a referee, but I wouldn't go through that. But the thing is, the ball became live. All right. And the table official failed to blow the charge, the timeout. All right. And so the ball remains live until one of these areas that we're covering now. All right. Until the ball becomes dead again.
I have something
Go
to
on,
say
right
on
ahead,
this,
weigh
Mr.
in
Brown.
on that.
I don't know who was asking the question, but I have a trick for you. After a few good years of officiating, let's put it that way. These situations don't just happen in Guyana, they happen in the Bahamas, they
Everywhere.
happen at international competitions, they happen at world.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. Oh, Christian. Internet service went off again. Can I continue?
Mr. Brown, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You have a little challenge with your interneting.
I guess so. I don't know.
Okay.
But I will switch to the other account I have just to avoid that from happening again.
Okay.
But what I was saying was that let me just finish quickly. I was just saying that you have situations where they inbound the ball very quickly, and so the table official might not get a chance to blow the horn in time. By rule, the minute the thrower in steps off of the court with the ball becomes live, as Mr. Brown has said, and they shouldn't be able to get a timeout. However, as a referee, as an experienced referee, if you are aware that a coach has requested a timeout prior to the ball becoming live, and you know this information, it would behoove you, as we would say, to make sure that timeout would come to be. And I will tell you why. Because nothing will make a coach more irate than them not getting a timeout when they ask for a timeout in time. Now, it's different if they ask, but if you want to see a coach fly off the handle, you let them have asked for a timeout. Their team, the opposing team, is on a run or something like that, and they don't get their timeout. They use that as a reason for why they get beat by 20, 30. It's your fault because you didn't give them their timeout. So what we do as referees, even at the highest level, you watch World Cup games, you will see it. The referee will blow the whistle. And by doing so, as Mr. Brown will touch on here, when the referee blows the whistle, the ball has now been rendered what? Dead. And so by blowing the whistle in this time, you now permit the coach to get their timeout. So it is a I wouldn't call it a trick, but is a technique. If we know that a coach has been asking for a timeout, or we see the coach asking for the timeout, even though we know in FIBA rules you're not permitted to ask a referee directly on the court. In this situation that you give, blow the whistle. It's better for you, I think, to blow the whistle and inquire to the table, was a timeout requested? If there was, assess the timeout. If not, resume the game. As long as the timeout was requested in time. I just wanted to add that in.
And Chris, if I could add something, Christian.
Yes, please, table official.
One thing that we do as table officials, if, like, especially the last 2 minutes of the game and the game is close, and the coaches ask for a timeout, we try to get the attention of one of the officials on the floor, just in case we don't get the horn off in time too, and let them know that the other team requested a timeout.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Of course, at international competitions, you have a sitting commissioner or a sitting technical delegate, and who would be watching the game intensely, and it would be nudging the scorers and everybody else, the persons who are getting ready to blow the horn in advance, especially when there's a tight game coming down to the end in the fourth quarter. There's a lot of timeouts. all right? And so if you're going to be a commissioner, this is one of the areas you really have to pay attention to, especially in those big international competitions. Okay, let's continue. The ball becomes dead when any field goal or free throw is made. The ball becomes dead when an official, you have it up because I have it in front of me.
Yeah, I'm going to share it right now.
Yeah. When an official blows his whistle while the ball is live. Right. Okay. Of course, just keep in your mind there is an exception to that rule, and we're going to come to that. And that's the gray area. All right. Under normal circumstances, you're playing a game, the referee blows his whistle on a travel violation, that's fine. All right. Blows his whistle on a break and dribble, that's fine. All right. But it becomes a little grayer when you have a continuous motion, when the ball was shot, when the ball struck or strikes the ring, etc. So just keep those items in your mind as we go along. The ball becomes dead when it is apparent that the ball will not enter the basket on a free throw, which is to be followed by other free throws. Of course, you have multiple free throws and you take one, no good, ball is dead at that moment. You have multiple free throws and possession of the ball, so you can take the multiple free throws on each occasion. When you shoot and the shot is completed, the ball becomes dead, and then you go to the spot where you're going to make the throw in. Once you go to the spot, the ball places, and the official places the ball at the disposal of the thrower in, then the ball, of course, become what? Live. Very good. The next item is the ball becomes dead when the game clock signal sounds for the end of a quarter or overtime. Again, there's some exception to this rule. With regards to a shot for a field goal, with regards to maybe the continuation to some degree. And so we're going to go through those exceptions in a little bit. Of course, if you're playing a normal game, you're dribbling along, and the signal sounds for the end of the game, then the game is ended. All right? And so on. So let's continue. Anything you need to add to that, Christian, from a game situation perspective?
I think not yet.
Okay. I know. We're getting there. Next slide.
Okay.
I should have had a few questions for you guys. Of course, the ball becomes dead when the shot clock signal sounds while a team is in control of the ball. While a team is in control of the ball. That's our next article. We're going to go to Article 14 to determine control of the ball. But some of you have a lot of information out there. If you wish to weigh it, that's fine. We told you that you are a referee and you're also an instructor this evening. So if you have something to add, please feel free to weigh in and get in on the conversation. Good to go? The shot clock signal sounds while a team is in control of the ball becomes dead. The ball in flight. Watch this now. The ball in flight for a shot for a field goal is touched by a player from either team after, all right, an official blows his whistle. There's an exception to this rule. There's an exception to this rule, and we're going to cover it. After the game clock signal sounds for the end of the quarter or the overtime. After the shot clock signal sound. Allow me just to go through that again. The ball, while it's in flight for a shot for field goal, is touched by a player from either team after an official blows his whistle. After the game clock signal sounds for the end of the quarter or overtime. So that one, okay, pretty simple there. And then after the shot clock signal sound. So in order to really define these items, all right, the exception to these rules, that brings us now to the ball does not become dead on the goal count if made when, and so before I go there, Christian, do you wish to weigh in and lay some groundwork on that last bullet, the ball in flight or short for field goal?
I can. So let me just read it again. We're dealing with the ball becomes dead. So the ball becomes dead when the ball in flight for a shot for a field goal is touched by a player from either team after an official blows his whistle. The game clock signal sounds for the end of the quarter or overtime. The shot clock signal sound. So just to kind of give you a kind of visual of when that might happen or a situation like that may occur. For example, if the player shoots the ball and there is a foul somewhere else on the court, maybe in the painted area where two players might be battling for position on the rebound, and the referee blows the whistle, and while the ball is maybe on the rim or somewhere of that some sort, someone goes up there and touches the ball. Obviously, there are exceptions, don't want to get too technical, but if, for instance, on a last second heave, I mean, these three sub bullets here, shot clock signal sounds, whistle blowing, and game clock signal sounds, are unique situations. They don't happen very often, but when they do happen, there's a lot of confusion because you have something that would normally create make the ball dead, but then there is some interference with the basketball by someone touching it after that point, and it becomes extremely tricky when you're dealing with a shot. So does the basket count? Does the basket not count? And there are different exceptions to the rule here, Mr. Brown. I actually think I will wait to give my example because you're going to explain it a little bit better first.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. All right, anybody else wish to weigh in? Anybody? Okay, great. Let's continue. Now, these are some of the exceptions to the rules now that we spoke about earlier. The ball does not become dead and the goal count if made when the ball is in flight on a shot for field goal and an official blows his whistle. So the ball, once the ball is in flight on a shot for field goal, all right, the ball then remains live. The ball is live, even though the official blew his whistle. Next item, the ball while it's in flight on the shot for field goal and the game clock signal sounds for the end of the quarter or overtime. For example, player shoots, the ball is in flight, and the game clock signal sound while the ball is in flight. At that moment, the ball is still live. The ball is still live. The next item, ball is in flight on the shot for field goal, and the shot clock signal sounds. Ball is in the air, shot for field goal, and at that moment, the ball is still live. And then it says, if the shot goes in, the goal shall count in all cases. Those are some of the exception to the rule. You want to add to that, Christian?
Yeah, no, I think for the most part it's fairly simple. All I would say is the key here in understanding is that is under normal situations, if the official blows the whistle, if the buzzer goes off, if the shot clock signal sounds, the ball would automatically become dead under normal situations. All this rule is saying is if that happens while the ball is in the air, then the ball does not become dead. That's the exception. It's just saying that, yes, the ball would usually always become dead if the official blows his whistle, if the game clock signal sounds to the end of the period or overtime, if the shot clock signal sounds when a player is in control, when the team is in control of the ball. But if any of those things happen and the ball happens to be in the air on a shot, that is the exception when the ball does not automatically become dead. That's all it's saying.
Now, this is where I want to add this portion. If you go to goaltending, the goaltending rule, and we're not going to go here, at the very end of the goaltending rule, Article 31, I think, is goaltending. Yeah, I think Article 31. At the bottom, the last line that deals with goaltending, you will see that phrase, the restrictions related to goaltending and basket interference shall apply. So, in this case, the referee blows his whistle while the ball is in the air. All right? A player touches that ball, and that ball goes in, that shot will still count. Ball is in flight, and it reaches its highest point. It reaches its highest point, and it starts to go down for the shot. At that point, a player who touches the ball, it's goaltending. They will goaltend. All right, remember the rule, restriction related to goaltending and basket interference shall apply. Even though the referee blows his whistle, and while the ball is in the air on its upward flight, a player touches the ball is still live, and it goes in, the basket will count. Referee blows his whistle, the ball reaches its highest point and begin to make its way down. The ball must be above the level of the ring. To make its way down, any player touches that ball. If team B touches the ball, the basket will count, whether it's a 2 or a 3. All right? And if team A touches the ball, the basket will not count. And of course, the next team will get the ball. Basket interference, goaltending, and basket interference shall apply. Even though the referee blows his whistle, and then some things happen after that, basket interference or goaltending. Continue. We'll continue on with that a little bit more. I'll be looking with time. Anybody wish to weigh in? My referees, oh my goodness, I'm pushing a lot of information out here at once. Don't be afraid. You can have a discussion on it. I know. Anybody else wish to weigh in? Okay, they want me to just push the information on them.
Good afternoon.
Yes, please.
I'm Rich Miller from Bahamas. I just, blessed to be in the presence of all this knowledge. And I just just taking everything, as a sponge and just enjoying it. That's all I have to say. It's just fun.
Oh, wow.
Just learning. Yeah, just learning from all these great minds out there. And I feel like it's only going to help me get better.
Wow.
That's all I wanted to say.
That's outstanding, man. I appreciate that. This is the next bullet, Christian?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Exception to the rule. The ball that is in flight on a free throw, and an official blows his whistle for any rule infraction other than the free throw shooter. All right? If the free throw continues, the free throw shall count, even though the referee blew his whistle. Next one. The ball is in control of a player in the act of shooting for a field goal who finishes his shot with a continuous motion which started before the foul is charged on an opponent's player or on any person permitted to sit on the opponent's bench. Christian, I'm going to let you go with that one. I know Cunningham loved this one, and he's sitting in his rule clinic. And this is the time where we can cover maybe the act of shooting and the continuation.
Okay, well, I just will go right back before I get to the active shooting one. I'll just go back
Yeah.
one to the free throw because it seems so simple, but a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are still some people that are making this mistake or have some confusion over this rule. This first bullet point, only the free throw shooter can cancel a free throw shot. If anybody else commits a violation, a free throw violation, it is irrelevant as it pertains to the shot. If the shot goes in, you can't cancel it. And notice that doesn't say the offensive team. It says the free throw shooter. So if the teammates of the free throw shooter violates the free throw shot and the ball goes in, the free throw is still valid, even if you blew your whistle. And it can be very confusing because you would have something where the teammate of the offensive player might step into the lane too early. And at that same time, the shooter shoots the ball, the referee blows the whistle because he's watching the violation and the ball goes in. And then there's confusion as to what to do, especially, I guess, with referees who may just be starting. That violation is now irrelevant by the rule because only the shooter can cancel the shot, the free throw shot. And we still have a few coaches and players, a lot of players actually, who, especially if they play in the US, they are confused by this because I think in US high school ruled a violation by a teammate of the free throw shooter will cancel the free throw. That is not FIBA rules. Only the free throw shooter can cancel that shot. And I won't go into the whole free throw rule and what happens and all of that sort of thing because I'm sure there might be presentations on that in the future. But I just wanted to make that point.
So, Christian, if there's a lane violation, the shooter shoots the ball, the free throw shooter shoots the ball. But even prior to releasing the ball, or while the ball is in, well, for whatever reasons, one of the players on either team decide to walk in the restricted area or come over the 3-point line into the 2-point area, and the basket is cut. Can you cancel that basket?
No, under no circumstance can you cancel a made free throw shot unless the violation was committed by the free throw shooter. Only he or she can cancel the shot. If the ball goes, as a matter of fact, if you blew the whistle, even the way FIBA, what's the word? The way they administer the situation, even if you blew the whistle and the ball goes in, they pretend as if the whistle was not even blown. It's completely ignored, and the other team is allowed to take the ball and inbound it and resume play. It is completely ignored because only the free throw shooter can cancel the shot. Now, if the shot misses, obviously there's nothing to cancel, and that's a different scenario altogether.
So you hold the whistle until the completion of the shot.
You can, yes.
What if the shot is missed? If the shot is missed, can you call the violation?
Yes.
That's when, okay, great.
Yes, you can. You can.
Lovely.
Okay. So now the one is...
No, somebody wants to weigh in.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Brown. This is Instructor Martindale from Barbados.
Good to hear from you, Jillian.
Good evening, participants.
Good evening.
Jillian, could you speak up a little bit?
Speak up a little louder, Jillian.
Okay. What Kristen just mentioned is very important because I think officials that attend major FIBA and FIBA America tournaments, this is a part of the mechanics. If there's a violation if there's a violation during the free throw ceremony, yes, I'm going to say ceremony. Once that shot is released and if it happens like simultaneously, and a real good example of it is on the lineup, you would have like the defender entering the restriction area, you know, simultaneously to when the shot is taken, or on the perimeter where the the players enter the free throw, the 3-point area before the shot is taken. It is a part of the mechanics that the referee blows the whistle. And I think that this is something that's not practiced enough with referees. And until you go to like a major tournament or where the instructors in the presentation before the tournament mention these things and you see your colleagues doing it, then you really start to do it, and then there's a perfect opportunity for you to take it back to your country because this is important. And as Christian said, only the free throw shooter can violate. If the shot is good, nothing else occurred. Okay?
Disregarded, right? Yeah.
Yes. So that's just my take on it.
Jillian, thank you so kindly for that intervention. Anybody else wish to weigh in? Your experience as a referee, your experience as a table official, your experience as a coach. Please weigh in, speak to it. All right, it's only gonna make us better if we get everybody involved in this exercise. Go ahead, man.
I got something. Wilfred Sifik from Suriname. Can you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
I can hear you.
Okay, there's a offensive player. He knows that his player will score the free throw, and he's deliberately stepping in too early. And he's doing it after more free throws. So he already got a warning after the free throw. What do you do in such a situation if he deliberately steps in too fast because he knows I got a good free throw shooter and he will mostly score his free throws? After the first word, do you give him a tag? What do you do?
Go on, Krishna. I know both of us have answers for that.
Well, let me just, okay. So my thing is, other than him being, I guess, annoying, I guess, to the officiating team, he's not gaining any advantage in the game from doing that as long as the shot is going in. And I assume if the shot was to miss, you would call the violation. So I would advise against calling a technical foul for something of that nature, because by rule, he's not doing anything. I mean, he's doing something wrong, but it is of no effect on the game outside of maybe just being facetious.
You're gonna get a next shot anyhow.
Yeah, and I would hasten to say, don't allow players to how can I say, to bait you into creating a mountain out of a molehill. Because if his teammate is sitting every shot and he just wants to walk in the lane, that's his problem. Now, when the teammate misses the shot, then it will be handled accordingly. And all I would say, to be quite frank, if I'm the official in that game, I wouldn't give a warning per se. I would just probably say something along the lines of, if he misses the shot, I'm going to call a violation. And I leave it at that. If he wants to take the risk of walking in the lane before every shot, then what I would do with a player like that is I would make sure call the violation every single time to get the point across. But I wouldn't go the route of official warning and technical fouls for something like that. Let me just say something quickly about this technical foul business, because I know we like the technical foul in the Caribbean. I have a saying that I always tell the officials who I work with. If your technical foul is going to potentially create a bigger problem than the problem you are trying to correct, I suggest you don't call the technical foul. And in this scenario, the situation is a very minor one that is really not having any effect on the game. But I would suspect that if you call a technical foul in this situation, the response you're going to get, the reaction you're going to get, not just from the player, but probably the coach and the fans, is going to take something that would otherwise go unnoticed in the game and create a big spectacle that we can completely avoid. So that would just be my response on that situation.
Yeah. On the other hand, I had refereed a game, and one of the players would step back, all right, prior to the free throw shooter shooting the ball, and every time, that good lady would just step back, all right, and I as a referee, I got annoyed with it, and I thought it was unsportsmanlike to some degree. And I like pull her over and I said, listen, you can't do that because it was unusual. But the problem is I did not understand the free throw rule. I did not understand the free throw rule. On the free throw line, you don't have zombies. And the depth for the free throw lane, for the jumpers in the free throw lane, who can give me the depth?
How far back does the zone, the free throw zone go?
Can the free throw zone go?
Doesn't the free throw zone go all the way back to the arcs?
No, sir. Good question. Look like I got to throw that one in the rules. But anyhow,
does it go back to the 3-point line?
Oh, so a person can stand on the restricted area and the free throw area all the way back to the free throw line.
I'm gonna get that.
That's a good one. It's actually 1 meter.
Yes.
It's 1 meter in depth. All right. So a free throw jumper, that's their space. 1 meter. All right, from the restricted line. And so when I went in at the halftime, my referee manager pulled me over and he says, hey, Freddie, what's going on? He says, it's legal. And that's how I found out about the depth of the free throw. It's up to 1 meter. So you could be in your space, just like the what do they call it now? The principal vertical space, your space, that's your space in there, at a depth of 1 meter. And she decided to step in that depth of 1 meter. I didn't like it, it didn't look good, but it was correct.
Well, thank you for that. I've been refereeing about 8 to 10 years now, and I've been playing from time I was young, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, just to be clear, just in case some people might be a little confused, what we're talking about when we say depth. Basically what Mr. Brown is saying is a free throw shooter doesn't have to stand right up against the line in the lane. They can back up away from the actual spot on the free throw lane up to 1 meter, so they can really step off of the line. They don't have to be right in the space. And Mr. Brown, while you say that as well, I just would mention too, I see a lot of referees like to coach defensive players on the lane and tell them where they should stand in terms of spaces, but I will leave that tomorrow for the diagram. I'll put a diagram on that tomorrow about that play, about making them stand certain places. They could stand as long as that's in their team space. They could stand wherever they want, even if it makes no sense to us. But I'll explain that a little bit more clearly tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Now, people out there, you're doing a very good job. Weigh in on the conversation. As a referee, have a discussion on how you referee these things, all right? As a player.
Mr. Brown.
Hey, yeah, go right ahead.
Major from Bahamas.
Yes, Major.
I'm getting back to the, oh, Jesus, what the gentleman said earlier in terms of the guy being annoying, in terms of just deliberately stepping in. As a referee, you ought to be automatically blowing your whistle for that violation every time, or if you see that he's intentionally doing that, then you can have a delay whistle.
I think Christian I think he did a good job answering that. in that you're using more.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, you wasn't on that. Okay,
right,
sorry
right.
for that. And he did a lot more preventative officiating.
Uh-huh.
If it's the offensive team who's stepping in, right? And he's really dislodging his own player, all right, even though he's committing a violation, but he's also dislodging his own player. But remember, if the free throw is good, you will disregard the violation. You'll disregard the violation. However, if you gotta blow it, all right, and you think you have something to blow, it is done on completion of the free throw. Allow the free throw to be shot, and on completion of it, if it goes in, disregard any violation. If it doesn't go in, then you could call a violation if you so choose. All right, but if it's on the offensive team, all right, they're not gonna get the ball. All right, certainly have to be on the defensive team, but like you said, don't try to add fuel to the fire.
No, I'm just asking in terms of continuously blowing your whistle for that violation.
I would not keep blowing my whistle.
No.
I would just wait.
That's what I'm
Okay, sorry,
getting
yeah.
at. I'm not really worrying about adding fuel to the fire. I'm just trying to do my job as an official.
No, I would definitely not blow my whistle until such time that in this particular scenario that you're giving, until such time that the shot misses. Because you're right, you would be standing there blowing every free throw. No, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Freddie.
Anybody else?
Hi, Freddie.
Yeah,
Hi, Freddie.
how you doing, man? All good. Good to hear from you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, how you doing? Okay,
right,
I want to support Christian on this. I think I was pretty happy to hear Christian saying it. You know, two things that he mentioned. One is that it has no effect on the game. It doesn't put anyone at a disadvantage. I was happy to hear him say that. It has no effect on the game really. And two, to penalize only when it's necessary. And I think that the player would understand when there's when he's penalized. And that goes back to what you were discussing a few weeks ago when you talked about game management and as a referee not being flustered and being calm, you know, in the game and not let those little things fluster you. So that's part of your game management is understanding what's going on in the game and being able to use, as he mentioned, preventive officiating. Whereas he warns the player, you know, and that's a good thing. You don't have to necessarily have to make a big thing about it. Where you warn the player, you know, if it misses, I'm gonna penalize you, or if it scores, I'm not scores, but if it misses, you know, I'm gonna penalize you. And once you caution the players a lot of times with that, then they understand and they so. But I think it's a good point that Christian made, that one, not affecting the game, it has little or no impact on the game, and that's part of your game management.
Hey, Fred.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay. So I just want to add just a little piece to what Glenn said.
Yes,
Hello,
please.
Glenn.
Keep weighing in, Paul. Keep weighing in.
Okay. So for me personally, if that situation happened to occur with me, yes, preventative officiating. But we also talked about communication and having your own language and knowing what to say and how to say it. I think when we as officials are giving official warnings, two things come to mind. You may or I may call a violation, or if you persistently do it, I may call a technical foul, and the technical foul should be the last option. And I think you have to be convincing enough and be stern enough in this situation, and yet still be friendly to say, hey, if it occurs, I may call a violation.
I would say it's up to the referee's tolerance in this case. how far do you go with it? Is it creating a problem for the game, for the players? Any number of things can come up that will cause you blow a technical foul. But I think what Christian was trying, that's the last resort, and that sometimes it's not even necessary.
Since we are still talking about this, and this is good because we're talking a little bit more broadly than just the rule here. I would say this, my experience has shown me also that a player who does things like that, like those unnecessary infractions, just to be a pain, so to speak, is probably doing other things also in the game as well. And so sometimes what I've started to do is be a little bit more clever. I'm not going to put undue negative attention on the game or myself over that infraction. But I will promise you, if you were to commit another infraction that is more notable, where you may have gotten a warning, you may not get that warning. If that makes sense. This is just game management, because in that instance, you might have a player who is and it depends on the scenario. I don't know if he's doing it intentionally or this is a player who is just kind of not paying attention. But assuming he's doing it intentionally, players tend to do things like that when they feel as though they are in control of the game, or they want to give the impression that they are in control of the game and above the law. And so I think we have to be wise. I personally, obviously there's no rule on this, personally I would not call it a technical foul really under any circumstance for this particular situation that we're talking about. But I will also say, with that particular player, if they happen to commit another infraction of that would have meant in another game might have only received a warning, then that might be the opportunity where something that's a little bit more visible, it's a little bit more obvious, where the technical foul can come in if you think that you need to communicate to this player that I am in control of the game. And so in essence, what I'm saying is pick your moment to send that message. I don't know that doing it for stepping in the free throw line when his teammate is hitting the shot is the time to do it, especially particularly if you're refereeing at the high level. To explain that, I think would be a little bit hard for you. So that's just my opinion.
And Freddie, I would just
100%.
Mr. Brown. I agree. Yeah, I agree with Christian on this. And I support him. I heard someone say that they supported him 100%, and I would agree with him importantly in this point, because a play like that does not, to my mind, as Christian said, deserve a technical foul, and it does not. It really does not even really deserve the referee's full attention in this case. You know, if you are a referee is letting something like this annoy you, then I'm pretty sure there are other important things that happen more important things in the game that really deserve your attention more so than a player stepping in like this. So I agree and support Christian with this 100%.
I mean, looking from the logic of it, if a defensive player steps into the lane while the ball is live, free throw shooter is shooting. If the free throw is missed, then obviously the referee is going to say, hey, let's shoot the next shot. If the offensive player does the same thing, the offensive player is really disconcerting his own partner's free throw. So, you know, I'm pretty much leaning on the side of Christian, because there is no true reason or rhyme or reason for you to really call a technical foul in those two regards, because the offense is really disconcerting his own person. So let's continue discussion. We got over 3 minutes. Let's continue the discussion on this, and then we'll pick up tomorrow.
Mr. Brown.
Yes, please, go right ahead.
Mr. Brown, Abdul Urshad here from Jamaica.
Yeah, man, good to hear from you.
How you doing, man? One thing that referees should be mindful of is that coaches use this at times as a tactic.
I'd like to hear this.
The coaches use it as a tactic, because if the team is out rebounding a team
say for defense, the coach might want to use this as to stop the team from actually advancing the ball faster than they want. And there are times when the coaches also use it because they would prefer on defense. They would prefer if the team scores 1 point as opposed to catching a rebound and scoring a second point. So we have to do of these situations.
So they're trying to gain a disadvantage.
That's good. I would have never thought about that being not a coach. So I appreciate that that input into the conversation.
Yeah. So he's trying to gain a disadvantage you're alluding to.
Kind of setting up for the next play.
Gain an advantage, actually. Trying to gain an advantage. Oh, that's hey, love that comment.
Question?
Yes, please.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Mark Nicholas from Tucson Cakers.
Mark.
When the offensive player stepping in the lane, yes. What if, like the coach said, they use it as a tactic, but one of the defensive players step in the lane right after the offensive player before the shooter release the ball, and then the shooter miss, but the defensive player grabbed the rebound. Would you still? Would it still be a violation on the offensive player or defensive player?
What would you call? What is your call? If you're the referee, what is your call? What would you do?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did both players commit a violation, a lane violation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said yes. Now that you notice yes, so what is your call now? Did both players commit a lane violation?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what is the call now?
So it's a lane violation because the ball was
What kind of lane? On one person or two person?
Excuse me, repeat that again.
On TMA and TMB or just team? Them commit a violation?
Yes. Okay.
Right. So if the shot goes in, you'll disregard the double lane violation, because only the free throw shooter can dislodge the free throw.
Got it a few times, but it's always a lot of confusion because people don't know the rule. And basically the rule is if you have a double violation, the penalty is, and the shot misses, the penalty is you go to the alternating possession arrow to determine who gets the ball. And so that is something that a lot of people don't know. I will say this, however, about that situation. I think I be careful, but I think FIBA has a interpretation of this, because what happens a lot of times is that once one player steps in, the other player by reflex next to him will usually step in the lane as well. And so that is from what from my experience, I have found that is one of the main reasons you don't see it called as much, because they, in essence, the referee makes a judgment that the second player, especially if he's next to the first offender, the second player stepped in after the first offender as a reflex, because they don't want to be out rebounded or boxed out. And so it's kind of like a reflex thing. Now, you won't find that in the rule, but I'm giving you that one for free.
That's preventative officiating there.
Good night, guys. Christian and Frederick.
How you doing?
All is well. All is well. All is well. In my experience and talking about this particular rule, you definitely have to have patience, judgment, and definitely understanding the rule. You know, understanding the rule will help you with your judgment, and also with patience. You know, having a patient whistle will definitely patient, you know. So this rule is very tricky. It really has some gray areas when you're talking about the actual live game. But having good judgment and patience really give you success on this rule.
That's good. Yeah. You know, there's a part of the game. You know, what's the purpose of playing a game? What's the purpose of playing basketball? Right? The primary purpose is entertainment. However, there's no entertainment at the toddler's level. All right, very little entertainment because you're trying to what? Develop the motor skills and teach boys and girls how to interact and respect each other. And as you go up in the age group, it becomes a little bit more serious. So in certain age grouping, you may determine that, hey, in order to establish this rule and there's a tendency to bypass items like that, and you implement the psychology of officiating, eh? And that is always based on advantage, disadvantage, etc., etc. So it's all about entertainment. At a certain level, you may want to blow that call, all right, to develop players and to teach them about the rules, etc. But at the very top, we tend to hold our whistle, eh?
And to be fair, Mr. Brown, we
Yeah.
do a lot of preventative officiating
Indeed.
to avoid calling these lane, especially if you're talking about lane violation from players outside the 3-point line, crashing the basket too early. If you watch a modern game, you sometimes see the trail referee come all the way down to the 3-point line. I know I did it just in my last game. Come all the way down to the 3-point line, almost look like another center, trying to remind and advise players, please wait until the ball touches the rim if you're on the outside of the 3-point line before you enter into the 2-point field goal area, because it was a close game, it was an overtime game, and at all costs, we wanted to not of the game be decided if we could avoid it by a free throw violation. But
okay,
if you must.
Can we take one more comment? Anybody else wish to comment or give a question for us to answer before we close?
Henry Williams here from Jamaica.
Yes, sir.
From my personal experience, I usually call the lane violation on the first offender. Would I be wrong in doing that?
You mean you're talking about a scenario where two people violate?
2 people, right?
Yeah.
My question to you is this: are you calling it on the first offender because you have deemed that it was his action that caused the reaction in the other person? Are you calling it on the first offender by just ignoring the second action altogether?
No, by the reaction of the first that caused the second one to violate.
Okay, well, I mean, that's not in the rule, but I will say this to you: you wouldn't be alone around the world in officiating it that way, but be mindful of what the rule is for a double violation. You should know, and if you have a situation where that applies, then you handle it accordingly. But I mean, like I said, basketball is not black and white. We know what the black and white rule is, but there are situations where, you know, the players are there, they're literally on springs. They're just waiting for the release because it's a battle for position. So if they see the person next to them jump into the lane, the other people are all going to jump, right? And so we handled it similarly. I would say more than likely in the at the high level. Very seldom would you see a double free throw violation. Very seldom.
Oh, all right, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? And that's it. One more, no more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so kindly for a wonderful evening. Good interaction, good points. We certainly wish to thank our president, Mr. Lion Clark, president of the Caribbean Basketball Confederation, for weighing in on the conversation and to giving his input. Certainly love it. Want to thank those referees who also give their input. This is very important. Like we say, hey, listen, as a referee, you're going to be deliberate. Every single time, you're going to be deliberate. All right? And this is one of the points of becoming an elite referee. Ready to make the call and being confident and deliberate in making the call. And so all of you weighed in. You wasn't afraid to be wrong, but most of you appear to be right. As Christian would have indicated, that you know, there's a whole lot of gray with regards to referee, especially at high-level competition, level 1 competition.
Mr. Brown, let me just say one quick thing. Just one last thing I want to say. The most important thing about this situation, since this is what we spend the most time is, I would say, please make sure that however you interpret it, I'm going to call the violation the person who did it first because they caused the second person, or I'm going to call the double violation. Whatever you decide, the most important thing is that needs to be officiated consistently within the team. Not you calling it on the first one and your partner calling it a double violation. So this is where teamwork comes in so that the game is officiated consistently. I would say that's the most important thing about that situation.
Thank you so kindly.
Understood.
Thank you so much. Of course, you're getting real-time information from someone who's on the circuit refereeing. And of course, I sit as the table commissioner from time to time. And so we try to balance this act and getting information across to you. Guys, you did an excellent job this evening. Let's look forward to a nice, wonderful evening tomorrow. Make sure, don't keep this information to yourself. Tell your partners, come on the net. Get involved in this exercise, and I'm quite sure at the end of the day, all of us would learn something. I certainly learned something from somebody who spoke from Jamaica about the lane violation, and that was excellent. And so that's something I'm going to put in my toolbox, and I hope that the rest of you as referees would put these items into your toolbox so when you get on the court, you'll be more efficient and effective in refereeing. Christian, you wish to say a few words?
No, not a whole lot, but just to reiterate, my purpose here, Assistant Mr. Brown, is really just to give a on-court official's perspective. And I would hope that if you take nothing else away from my contributions to the conversation, it is, like Mr. Brown said, the rules are written in black ink on white paper, but they are not black and white. And there is a lot of gray areas, and it is maneuvering through these kind of gray areas that will take time. It comes with experience and allow you to have a successful career as a basketball referee. So just take these sessions well. You're a lot of experienced officials and instructors contributing, and suck up as much of it as you can. And I'm sure you will come out of this series much better than you came in.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Patrick.
All right, thanks all. I think we had some good dialogue, engaging all of the participants. Again, just a reminder that the content for today's session will be up on the learning platform. I put it in the chat. Please log on to the YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe and like the content. and also to enable the reminders. So as new content is available, you'll get a reminder via email that new information is available. Again, thank you and good night.
Good night.